Could I get questions or a motion from any of the board members, please? Sonny, are you going to have to unmute these guys so they can?
Yeah, I'm working on it, but some of them are muted on their end, so they have to unmute themselves.
I make a motion to approve the minutes.
Thank you, Tyrone. Could I get a second on that motion?
I'll second that if you can hear me.
Thank you, Ricky. I got you. All those in favor of approving the minutes as submitted?
Aye.
Aye. Joe, Jack,
Aye.
Joe,
Aye.
Jack,
Aye.
thank you. Unanimous. We have some accounts payable that we need to look at. Do we have any questions on the payables? You know, the big thing this month was the audit.
And they have the whole team back, basically.
You know, that's that was $10,000, but I would make a motion to approve the payables if there are no questions.
I'll
But I
second.
Thank you, Jack. All those in favor of passing the payables?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Thank you. We have a modification to our new business agenda tonight.
Hold on every single,
On our new business agenda, letter A will be the flats proposals. Letter B is B, C, and D just moved down one. What was A becomes B, what was B becomes C and D. Presentations, we did have a presentation during our exec session from our auditor. We had a clean audit, everything went well. So we do have that audit as one of our agenda items to vote on tonight. Citizens' comments on agenda items.
If any citizens want to be unmuted and heard, you can just wave to the screen and I'll unmute you.
Okay,
I don't see anything.
very good. New business. Letter A is the flats, and as you know, we have 3 proposals. And I was wondering if we could get a motion to narrow those 3 down to 2.
I make a motion to narrow the 3 down to 2, excluding the baseball project. Due, my opinion, not enough information and not enough willing information.
Thank you, Tyrone. Could I get a second to that?
I'll second that, Joe.
Thank you, Joe. All those in favor of narrowing down the proposals for the flats from 3 to 2, which would be the elimination of the baseball stadium proposal. Vote aye.
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 Opposed? Thank you. Letter B, receive and accept our single audit and financial statements for the year ended December 31st of 2019. I think on our agenda it says 2020. Should be 2019. It's a typographical error there. That's the information that Carl Hogan, our auditor, reviewed with us during the executive session. Could I get a motion to accept those statements in that audit?
I make that motion, Zeke.
Thank you, Ricky. Could I get a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Tyrone. All those in favor of accepting the single audit and financial statements for the year ending December 31st, 2019? Aye.
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 Any opposed? Thank you. Letter C is to receive and consider the release of escrow funds for Proudfoot investments held by the Title Insurance Agency upon completion of sod work at 190 West Lincoln Highway. If you recall, during settlement, I believe $53,000 was held in escrow by the title company to ensure that the sidewalks got replaced at 190 West Lincoln Highway. That work has been completed, so Proudfoot's group is asking that we release those funds back to them. It would basically involve Lou sending a letter to the title companies authorizing them to release the money.
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman, I checked with them and they'll take a letter on RDA letterhead confirming the release. I guess my question is, do we have definitive confirmation from the city that the city inspector approved it? Does the board want to make it contingent or conditional on the city approval of the sidewalk inspection?
I'm not certain if the city has an inspector or what. We could check with them certainly and make sure that they are satisfied that the walks are done in accordance with code. Lou could, if the city says that
You
they're
want me
satisfactory.
to send an email to James Logan and Mike Trio tomorrow, or
Okay, I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you there, Lou.
did you want me to send an email to Mike Trio and James Logan?
Please, and if they confirm that the sidewalks are satisfactory, can you draft a letter and I'll ask Ruth Ann to put it on RDA letterhead
Sure.
and then sign it and we'll get it over to the title company?
Yes.
Ruth Ann, are you okay with that? That works for everybody, the sidewalks, I mean, they look fine to me, but we want to just make sure that the city's satisfied also.
Yep.
So could I get a motion to approve releasing the escrow based on confirmation of the city's satisfaction that the sidewalks are completed properly?
I'll make that motion, Joe.
Thank you, Joe. I appreciate it. Could I get a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Jack. All those in favor of releasing Proudfoot's escrow contingent upon it being acceptable to the city, vote aye.
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 Any opposed? Thank you. Letter D under our new business is the fencing up at 4th Avenue. We had created a temporary parking area for the residents during the construction of the 4th Avenue streetscape. We feel that we can now, we don't want to eliminate it totally, but we want to shrink it down. And Tom Taylor from Bright Realty had rented that fence to make that parking area. He spoke to them, and if we purchase the fence, it's going to be $4,000. If we lease it, it's $1,000 a year. I don't think we're going to need it for another 4 years. So, I mean, I would suggest that we lease it, but it's your choice, gentlemen. You're the board.
Can you lease the fence for 1 year at a time?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes, it's an annual lease for $1,005.
that's what I would think. Okay,
Hey Zeke, just for the record, those numbers I gave you were ballparks based on, so we rented it last year and you're actually going to give back some. So we're actually giving back part of it, only renting. So we're going to rent part of it for another year. And it goes down a little bit every year. So it actually, the number I gave you is based on the lineal feet, and it goes down it goes down every year if you
Okay.
need it. So
Rent the fence. Could I get a motion to rent the fence not to exceed $1,005 per year?
I'll make that motion that we rent
Thank
the
you,
fence.
Ricky. Could I get a second to that?
I'll second that, Joe.
Thank you, Joe. All those in favor of renting having Tom Taylor arrange to rent that fence? Aye.
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 Opposed? Thank you.
I have one question.
Yes,
Somebody going to notify the residents that we're taking the parking, part of the parking back, or?
Jack, when I was up there, Tyrone, has the garage right adjacent to
Right.
that. And we were up there and no one was parking in that back portion, like from the telephone pole east, or excuse me, west, I'm sorry. And that's
Okay.
what we thought about moving the fence up to there. So
Okay.
that portion hasn't been being used, and before it gets used for refrigerators or tires or anything like that, we figured we'd shrink it down. Now, the residents on Fourth Avenue did lose some parking because there's not parking on both sides of the street.
Right.
And that's why we figured we'd cut it like in half to still give them a place to park.
Okay.
So, are we good with that?
Yeah.
Very good. Next thing we have are citizens, any citizens' comments? Just to update everyone, so you know exactly what's happened, is the RDA is continuing to evaluate the 3 proposals which they were given for the flats. We have made some progress and narrowed it down to 2. We will be most likely submitting some additional questions to both of those projects and those groups in the next couple weeks, so that we're trying to do our due diligence and do as good a job as possible of evaluating the 2 projects. They're both, I feel, good projects. We just we want to get some more information before we move in any direction.
Hey, Zeke, excuse me, we do have a question that came in with a raised hand. Carmen, do you want to go ahead and ask your question? You're unmuted.
Yes, I would. Regarding the sidewalks at 190, please keep in mind, council meeting is not until the 22nd. So, the response wouldn't be until after that time. I do have a question regarding the baseball. I have not been attending the meeting, so is there a reason why they're not being considered?
They had originally provided some information to us, Carmen,
Mhm.
and then wanted all their information back. When we had the presentation of both baseball and Kingdom Group and the other group at the RDA meeting, their attorney spoke. He was very vague. We submitted questions through our solicitor to all 3. And they basically came back, well, we already answered that. And we don't feel that, we feel that the other 2 proposals can attract people to the city year round. Baseball seasonal, and we just don't feel that it is quite as beneficial to the city as the other 2 projects would be.
I know I had sent an email to you a while ago. My only concern is the flats are only legitimately, I mean, that's a big asset for the city. And I personally would just like to see that being utilized as something that is going to help the city and generate something for the city. You know, the asking price is low. We're not really asking for what we should be getting for it. I really hope that whatever project is chosen is something that's going to benefit the residents.
Battle here at the end.
Excuse me?
Carmen, that may be, that's why we're taking our time with this.
Yeah.
The board and understands how big, it's the last big piece we have in the city that we have control over. And we really need to do our homework and get the right project there to benefit the city and the residents. The whole ball of wax we got to get in
Yeah.
this. We got to try and get it right. So,
You know, my biggest concern is, or the biggest help that the city can get is industry. We need something that's going to generate revenue, that's going to be attractive to the city. I mean, it's nothing like having an event or a sports complex or whatever, and we be Act 47. You know, that's my concern. Is that we utilize this time and we make it productive to pick the right project that's going to benefit the city of Coatesville.
That's what we're certainly trying to do. Hopefully, we're all on the same page with that, Carmen. And we
Great.
do want to make sure that the flat stays on the tax rolls.
Yes, exactly. And that's exactly right. Zeke, and that's a big concern of mine. You know, it's unfortunate, but sometimes when you're getting, projects and they're changing and they're changing and they're changing, we have to be mindful of the things that were already said and the things that were already mentioned, because I would hate to see that project be done and then it turned over to a non-taxable entity. We really can't afford that. And that scares me. So I do have full confidence in you guys. But I just wanted to add my 2 cents. That's all.
Carmen, I think that I can speak for all the board members. They're all on board with this being taxable.
Yep.
For all taxpayers.
So,
Yeah, but-
it's not where we're stalling or fooling around and not getting the job done. We're trying to do as good a job as we can in evaluating these projects and what benefits they're going to bring to us.
I'm not, like I said, I'm not familiar with either one, as far as the new details, but I'm really looking for something that's generating revenue for the city. 50 employees would earn income tax that may be not so high wages. Is that beneficial to the city? I don't know. I
Well,
don't think.
so some of the questions that you have are questions that we also have, and we'd like to get answers to before we make a decision.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank
Thanks a
you.
lot.
Do you see any other ones, Sonny?
No, that's it.
Our next meeting in July, to be quite frank with you, we've had public meetings and never gotten the attendance that we get on these Zoom meetings. I don't know if this is a wave of the future and how we should be doing it or not. It's one of the things that the RDA board's going to discuss about, how do we want to conduct these in the future? I can tell you just on the screen I'm looking at, there are more people here than we get at a public meeting when we have an RDA meeting. And
The whole year.
if we want to disseminate accurate information to people, the Zoom meeting seems to be the way to do it. If there's no other business, can I get a motion to adjourn?
Make that motion.
Thank you, Tyrone. Could I get a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Jack. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Very good. Thank you, everyone, for attending, and we'll keep working on it. Have a good evening, all.
Good evening.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good one.